Good evening, and welcome to our webinar titled 6 Steps to Adding Central Air Without Tearing Up Your Walls and Ceilings. I would like to thank the Unico system for sponsoring tonight's event. With the advanced technology of the Unico system, your home can enjoy efficient, draft-free air conditioning and heating. No matter when your home was built or its physical configuration, installing the Unico system is always a possibility without compromising the design or architectural integrity. Our speaker for this evening is Scott Intagliata. Mr. Intagliata is a native of St. Louis and graduated from Tulane University in 1983 with a degree in philosophy. He then attended graduate school for English literature at the University of Missouri, St. Louis. Mr. Intagliata has worked as a freelance journalist, spent 11 years consulting on political campaigns, and for the last 18 years has been one of the owners of Unico Incorporated, a manufacturer of heating and air conditioning equipment located in St. Louis. He and his family live in a neighborhood on the National Historical Register in a home built for the 1904 World's Fair and Olympics. Before I turn the presentation over to Scott, I wanted to let you know that we will save time at the end of the event to answer questions. Questions can be submitted in the question area to the right of your screen throughout the presentation. Scott, I'll let you take it from here.
Great. Thank you, Amanda, and thanks to all the folks at AIM and Old House Journal put on these webinars. I attend a number of them myself, and I find them always helpful. As Amanda said, we're going to leave plenty of time for questions, but I'm going to jump right into it. I don't think it's any secret that if you live in an older home built before air conditioning was really prevalent or built into homes, that it's a solution you have to figure out. So many of you look at it all the time. Our business is basically built around helping people understand their options and selling them a top quality product. So here we go. Hold on a second. Okay, so why would you want to update your heating and air conditioning? Well, there's 5 key reasons. First off is better comfort, to improve the quality of the air you breathe, which is becoming more important, eliminate cold spots or hot spots, humidify or dehumidify your home, and increase your home's value. First off is comfort. 80% of people polled over time for consumer HVAC products complain about the quality, performance, and noise of their system. They find something about it inadequate. When we do internal polls here at Unico about our product and do survey work, we get much higher levels of satisfaction. You live in an older home for a reason. You appreciate aesthetics and maybe some of the finer things in life. You should have an HVAC system that supports that, doesn't detract from it. So you want to have something that gives you even temperatures, that's quiet, that looks good, and that keeps you, cool in the summer and hot in the winter, and hopefully fresh air circulating all year round. More and more people are faced with lots of respiratory issues, lots of air quality issues. If you live in an urban area, you have plenty of noise concerns as well. You may need to leave the windows locked and the doors locked, can't have screens, that sort of thing. So it's increasingly important to be able to purify and clean your air and bring in filtered fresh air on an ongoing basis. So that's another great reason to upgrade. The even temperatures, and here you see in a lot faster time what happens during a cooling or heating cycle over 20 minutes with Unico. So you see the air coming into the room and there's a breath of air coming in. It goes about a yard into the room, and it begins to mix all the air in the room. So you end up with a temperature variance, floor to ceiling and wall to wall, of just 1 degree. But that's a significant achievement, and it's something you should shoot for when you look to do your own heating and cooling. Many of you live in climates where there's lots of moisture in the summer. If you live on a coast, perhaps on a lake, anywhere in the Midwestern or Southern United States, you're going to have plenty of moisture. Our friends on the East Coast and up in New England, complain about summertime humidity. Small-duct products remove 30% more moisture from the air than conventional systems do, so you can actually run them at a slightly higher temperature, and in the summertime and still feel real comfortable because you're removing that moisture from the air. And then finally, adding central air conditioning to a home generally increases the value at resale by 12%. And I think probably many of you have found that as you've had homes, you wanted to move to a home that didn't have it, and you were able to negotiate the price down or get the price that you wanted because you had full and complete systems. In almost every realtor's description, central mechanical systems are one of the first things that they talk about. All right, step two, some facts about what's out there, and particularly small duct systems, which I think are generally seen as the preferred choice for older homes, and it certainly has been our stock and trade. I'm going to use this fancy highlighting tool here, so give me a second, and here we go. So here's the spotlight, and I've got this red spotlight, and what I'm doing is, this is a typical older home, late 1910s, early 1920s, built before air conditioning. Generally, there's a porch that was screened in that may have gotten enclosed over time. Many of you may live in homes like this. There's a basement down here where you might have a hot water heater or boiler. There's a ground floor, second floor, and then an attic, and that's where I am, and that's where generally a product like ours gets installed. So here's what's called the air handler, all right, and that's where the heating and cooling starts, where the exchange starts. But right here, where I have, that is the return air duct. Now, most homes, about 80% of the homes, get a center return, generally in an upstairs hallway right near the steps, so it can take all the air from the room or from the house into one place. It crosses a filter, gets cleaned there, and then returns to the back of the air handler. And in that air handler, you'll have a blower and a coil, so air is coming up from the house, up those stairs, into the return air, through the return air duct, which is a special quiet return so you don't hear any mechanical noise, and then it's run across the coil. It's drawn across the coil at a very, very slow rate. So in the wintertime, it means it's warmer when it gets to the blower, and in the summertime, it means it's cooler and it's wrung more humidity out of the air. And then it goes into the blower, and the blower motor is going like this, in that direction. So the air is drawn back here, across the coil, into the blower, and then rapidly out into this main trunk line. All right, now these are generally 7, 9, or 10-inch round, although they can be the equivalent in rectangular and square. And then off of that main trunk comes flexible supply tubing. This is 3.5 inches in outer diameter, and it can go to various spots in a room, and we'll show you some locations on that upper floor, and then it can travel through the back of a closet or down a stud wall to the ground floor, just like you see here. All right, and then you can chase it through the joists below. And in 20 years of ownership at this company, I've seen lots of tough projects, including a couple of my own homes. We're always able to figure out a solution, or our good contractors are, and get the heating and cooling where you need it. This main trunk can stretch up to 50 yards, and these supply tubes can stretch up to 10 yards. So there's lots and lots of latitude that it gives you with the system. All right, now every air conditioning system has an outdoor, or a heat pump system has an outdoor unit that provides refrigerant to that indoor coil. And so see, here you see this outdoor unit. There's the refrigerant line to and from that coil. All right. And in the wintertime, it's bringing in air from outside, extracting the heat, bringing it to the coil, heating that coil. The air comes across, it gets heated and goes out. In the summertime, the opposite happens if it's a heat pump. So it's sending cold refrigerant to that coil. The air comes slowly across the coil, gets dehumidified and cooled, and then is put out into the main trunk line. All right. So let me retract this now. Okay. So our product is used on all sorts of historic homes. We're in more than 500,000 across the United States and Canada. It grows every year. We're the only product endorsed by the National Trust for Historic Preservation for older homes and buildings. And we're in the residential part of the White House where the first family lives. We're in if you're a dead president, we're in your boyhood home generally, or your library. We're in Lincoln's Cottage in Washington, D.C. If you ever saw the movie Lincoln by Steven Spielberg, it's where President Lincoln went during the Civil War to deliberate the Emancipation Proclamation. And we're in countless homes like that. And then we're just in all sorts of homes throughout the United States that were built generally 50 plus years ago, before air conditioning was prevalent. There's about 4 million of those homes out there in the United States with a assessed value of over $500,000, and those are, and many of you probably live in homes like that. And those are the sort of homes that our product gets used in all the time. All right. One of the great things about the small duct systems is that they're small. And I showed you that main trunk before. The area here, and I'll run my mouse over it. The area in pink here, that is an actual conventional main trunk. It's generally sized 8 by 30 inches. Maybe I'll use my little tool. I like this. So it's 8 by 30 inches. So you could literally fit the trunk lines of 3 different small duct systems within there. So if you just have the one system, though, it would take up 1/3 of the space. Okay, and here's the 3 different ways you can run our main trunk. So if it's round, and it's a smaller system. So again, it's 7, 9, or 10 inch diameter round. You can do it rectangular, so a 7-inch round, the equivalent rectangular is 4 inches by 14 inches, and the equivalent square would be 6.5 by 6.5 inches. So you can generally fit in anywhere. More and more folks are using the 4-inch by 14, and more of our contractors are using it because it allows you, with outside cladding, makes it 6 inches. It allows you in a 6-inch void to be able to get full heating and cooling literally everywhere within a structure. So being small and compact is very important. Let me turn this off now. All right. So you can see how the small space for ductwork works out. Here, there's a 10-inch void. You're able to get the main trunk right there. You see my mouse going across it. And then off of it comes those flexible supply tubes snaking in and around the existing construction. All right. There's the air handler, generally hung in the attic, although it can also be in the basement and it can be vertical, but here you see it in horizontal aspect. All right. There's the blower. There's the coil. There's that return air duct that's very quiet. All right. This is generally how a contractor will hang it. So they'll set rigid bar across the top, and they'll also set it across the bottom. And then they'll hang it on chains, and there's a spring mount at each corner to make it nice and quiet. There's some sway to the system so that it's not rigid. And it is super, super quiet. There's a drain pan underneath it. This drain pan is galvanized, so it lasts forever. And then there's bar on top of that, so the air handler is actually just at the top of it. So if you were ever to have overflow or the system were to get clogged, it would flow into the drain pan, and then you see it would be trapped and run generally to an outside drain. And we generally tell contractors they should run it over like a kitchen window so that you'll see it and know that you need to go and call that contractor out and unplug it. It doesn't happen often, but it can. There's just a simple, clean way to do it, and it doesn't take up much space. As you can see, you could never stand up in there, and a tough place to install, but an easy place to have your air conditioning and heating system hidden away. All right. And so after space saving, one of the great reasons people use our product is they generally don't have to do any construction. The contractor comes out, and between two joists, again upstairs, generally on the second floor, they cut one hole for the return air grill, and every single piece of our equipment will go through that hole up into your attic while it's in its box. And then they can assemble everything up in the attic. They can run the supply tubing through the back of a closet. So if you're willing to give up half a shoebox, they can get half a ton of cooling. If you're willing to give up a full shoebox, you can get a ton of cooling through the back of a closet. Oftentimes there's wall space, and stud walls certainly have that room. You can run the supply tubing straight through there and never see it or have to accommodate it within the structure of your home. All right. Another great benefit is noise. Noise is the single largest complaint with heating and air conditioning systems. Drafting is next, but noise is a big one. I wanted to show you sound charts. We have 20 plus years of detailed sound testing and study that we've done. The typical NC rating, which is how noise is rated, is generally between 25 and 35 dB out of the box. That is by far the quietest air movement product on the market. We routinely see contractors installing projects that record 20 dB NC rating or less. and we've also, although our main focus is on older homes, we've gone into numerous recording studios. Now, actually, somebody told me the other day we're in recording studios on every continent in the world except Antarctica, where I don't think they have a recording studio. And the because you can get our product to be so quiet, we're in a number of operating suites, and we're even in a couple of audiology labs where they do hearing testing in the United Kingdom. So the product can be super quiet if installed correctly. And then you don't get drafts. Air comes into the room, as you saw before in our graphical presentation. It comes into the room, it fast, but only about 3 feet in, and by then it's mixing with all the air in the room, and you get very, very even room temperatures, generally 1 degree temperature variance, wall to wall and floor to ceiling in a room. So you don't get the 5 or 6 degree temperature variance you get with conventional systems, who work on a much different basis. We put small volumes of air in at a fast pace in a couple of places in a room. Conventional generally has one big grill in the room where they put all the air, so they dump 70% of the air that they're putting into that room into 25 or 30% of the space. So if you're near that, you get a terrible draft and you're very uncomfortable. If you're 10 feet away, you don't feel it. You're gonna feel cold. You're gonna complain. So you're either gonna be drafty, or you're not going to get the comfort. So with a Small-Duct product, you don't have that issue. You can avoid drafts by placement of outlets, and you'll get even room temperatures. And then finally, the product looks great. We love our friends, and we do have a number of friends at the high wall split companies, and we work with them. But I don't think I'm wrong in saying that the single Unico outlet here that arrow is pointing to is preferable in that room, and it's giving the same amount of cooling as this high wall split. So I think that's an easy aesthetic decision. It also means you're not going to get a big draft of air right over this tapestry and onto that table. You're going to have a little draft of air that comes down here, and by here it's begun to dissipate, and it's mixing with all the air in the room. So you get an aesthetic benefit as well. All right? So you know why you need to switch over. You see some benefits in the product. Now the next thing is, who can I trust to put this in? Who can I trust to come to my house when I'm not there, or I'm at work during the day, or maybe my older children are at home alone, that sort of thing. And it's a very important decision. There's a huge industry in the United States in finding quality installers, Angie's List, a number of others, and we think there's a huge value in finding quality expert installers. So if you've ever been to our website, unicosystem.com, on every page of it, at the top right, there's this badge that you can click through, and it's find a preferred installing contractor in your area. So you click on it. This is what you would see: unicosystem.com/contact/installing contractor, and you would go to a page where you would punch in your zip code, and literally by the time you're punching in your last number, you begin to populate all the preferred Unico contractors within 150 miles of you. Okay? So if you punch in a Chicago zip code, you're going to get 50 or so contractors in the Chicagoland area, but just 150 miles away in Michigan, you'll have a number of contractors too, but you'll get them read out by distance from you. So the first one here is just 4 miles from your zip code. This one's 4.8 miles. This one is another branch of that company. They're 6.8 miles away. So these are all along the shore in Chicago. So all of these contractors are long-term Unico installers. We trust them enough that we give them all a 15-year warranty for our product. Now, our product's independently rated to last 26 years. But the closest long-term warranty in our business is 10. We believe that the longevity of our product and its quality and the quality of our contracting base warrants a 15-year warranty. So Unico preferred contractors receive a full 15-year warranty on all Unico product that they install, and they're able to offer that warranty to you, the end user. All right? But a good contractor not only has a good warranty, but they also, bring a professional process to a project. The first thing they'll do is either on computer or on a piece of graph paper, although most of them do it on computer anymore, on an iPad while they're in your house. They do a sketch and measurement of your house, and it's called a manual J heating and cooling process. So while they're in your home, or some of them will take it back to their office, they will actually calculate the amount of cooling or heating your room needs. They make some assessments in terms of insulation in your home, the type of construction, the age of it, the sort of windows you have, floor coverings, window coverings, the actual aspect of your house. Does the front face south or east or that sort of thing? The obviously southern and western exposures are warmer, receive more sun. But they come back, and for every room in your home, they're able to sketch out a fairly detailed drawing often and saying in each of those rooms, here's the amount of cooling generally I need to supply. Most of the United States anymore has higher cooling loads than heating loads, although our New England contractors will figure out the heating load because they will generally be slightly higher and the cooling load will be lower. But whichever it is, they will assign those values to it, and then from those values, they will lay out a system. So we talked about the return air. There it is, and I'll go to my little spotlight again. So there's the return air that we talked about. There's the air handler. So they figured out where in the attic they're going to put it. Here's the stairs. So right off the stairs, probably the stairs are right there, the landing. They put it just to the left of the landing so that all the air in the house can come up there, get filtered. Return duct comes to this air handler here. There's the air handler. And then there's that main trunk all the way around your attic. And then off of that main trunk, they've got supply tubes with our little white outlets. So here you see them in the corners of the room. There's a window. So there's one in that corner, one in this far corner, and one over here. Each outlet will generally provide you 1,200 to 2,000 BTUs, that's British thermal units, of cooling. So you'll have more than adequate coverage there. In the master bath, you need 1,800. They've got a full one and a half one. That red dot means half. They've got 2 in the dining room and so on. And everywhere they're putting them behind the door, outside the traffic, in the corner of the room, so that nobody is going to sit, stand, or lay directly under those. All right, so that way you'll never even know that the air is coming out. Really, the only way you can know the air is coming out is to go stand directly beneath those. So a good contractor will do a cooling load and heating load, and then they will say, how do I design a system to fully satisfy that heating and cooling load, to make sure that my customer has all the heating and cooling that they want, all right, and need. All right. So the other thing that a contractor does, a good one, is they're continually educating themselves. Anymore, we don't have Unico contractors, and we've done lots of research on this. All of them ask, and I think because they've been asked over time and it's become so universal, almost every household has one or more members that suffers from allergies or some sort of respiratory concern. A lot of times children have children's asthma or adult asthma. And so more and more they try to probe on that to make sure that they can accommodate that with enhanced filtration or air purification. And that's part of finding out what you want. One of the things that they'll probably ask is, you know, are you here? Are you here during the day? How do you use your home? How do you which rooms are you in more? The more that they can get a sense of your expectations and what you want, quite frankly, we have a lot of times and I'm not stereotyping. I'm just telling you reports from the field. Is that a lot of husbands will have rec rooms or man caves or whatever in the basement. They like it a little cooler. Perhaps wives certainly don't want the same cool temperatures by and large that their husbands seek, and so they may spend more time in the heart of the house, the kitchen, the dining room, the living room, the entertainment room, and they may want that at a different temperature. A lot of times people would like to have a different temperature in the master bedroom than their children's bedroom, or God forbid you're the live-in mother-in-law and generally they turn your heating or cooling way down. So that's the sort of thing that a contractor will find out. The other thing that a good contractor has is they have a track record. They've generally been in business for a long time. Most of them are family businesses. You'll often see 2 and 3 generations at those businesses. Most importantly, they will almost always be able to give you referrals from people who have had a very similar project done. Somebody in your neighborhood, somebody who lives in a house like you or near you, where they have had heating or air conditioning put in. And I think that's always the most important thing to ask for as an end user. If you ask for that, and you're able to contact the person, sometimes you may know them, you'll end up being much happier with your end decision, being much more secure in your end decision. And then finally, a good contractor does what they say they will do. They tell you exactly, here's the heating and cooling requirements, here's the system I've designed to give you the heating and cooling. It takes care of that porch. It does this for the man cave in the basement, and makes sure the master bedroom has even greater filtration because my husband has allergies or suffers from asthma. Whatever it is, they'll be very specific about it, and they will write out a detailed proposal or contract and ask you to sign it. and then they will guarantee their work. You will get what you purchased from them, and they really stand by it. And they do it for a number of reasons. They wouldn't be in business if they didn't. They would have been out of business long ago. And one of the things we check for our Unico preferred contractors is longevity, and that they're honest and ethical business people, and that they pay their bills. That's also extremely important. But they're almost all contractors who give a money back guarantee. If it's not what they said it was going to be, they give it to you, and generally they never have to. So a good contractor is going to give you exactly what they say they're going to give you and what you agree to. All right. Now, equipment options, lots of them out there, and I'm sure that with the folks attending, you're from all various parts of the country, but many of you might have boilers. It looks like this. That came out of an old basement of a home I lived in many years ago. Put Unico in, but we also replaced the boiler, and it was asbestos throughout it, so that was a fairly big undertaking. You may have radiators fed by a boiler, right? One of the things that's great about our product is that it can also be fed by a boiler. So you can have hot water travel to this hot water coil. This is the air handling component. It comes in. The hot water comes in here, fills this coil, and then recirculates to the boiler there. And it's beautiful hot water heat, extremely moist, not scorched or burnt like a furnace, but rather moist and very gentle and pleasant. So this is what we call, if you have a boiler, what we call a kind of a total comfort solution. So a lot of times anymore, even in older homes, what people look for is they get a high efficiency boiler, which really makes a difference in your energy bill. Be it gas or even oil or propane. And that boiler might do a couple of different things. It might feed some radiators, but it very well may feed a radiant heat system. People will take their kitchen tile or floor up, put a radiant floor system in there, or in a master bath. And it's quite pleasant. That's fed from your boiler. And then a lot of folks will actually run that hot water all the way up to the small duct air handler in the attic. So here you have your cooling coil that's fed by an outdoor condenser, as we talked about before. But between that cooling coil and the blower, you've got a hot water coil where hot water from that boiler, runs up there, fills that coil, air comes across, and you get beautiful warm air out in your house, and then it returns to the boiler. The great thing about the Unico system is if you have radiators or radiant panel around the edge of your room, you have to provide that water to either radiators or radiant panel at 140 to 160 degrees. With the Unico, because it's a bit more efficient, and that coil is extremely efficient in transferring the hot water into air. You're able to run your water temperature at 110 degrees. So quite a bit lower, and it's quite a bit of an energy saving as well. And you get cooling with the product, and you can have some nice radiant floor for your master bath or your kitchen. Like all manufacturers, we've seen a huge growth in heat pumps. The heat pumps have definitely gained in popularity. For many years, they had a difficult reputation for not providing enough heat in the wintertime. I think that was probably always erroneous. I think oftentimes maybe they were misapplied. About 65% of all Unico product, even those put in with hot water, are heat pumps. And what we see anymore is even people who live in the Northeast, where we sell a tremendous, maybe the largest portion of our product, or in Chicago or Minnesota, where it's really, really cold, they will have a boiler and they may have radiators. They may take the radiators out upstairs and have the Unico system hot water coil heating. But what they'll do is they'll set that air handler to work as a heat pump until it hits 32 degrees. And when it hits 32 degrees or below, it starts pulling from the boiler. But until it's 32, that heat pump is using super efficiently, and it's taking the chill off and heating the house in the most efficient way. So the systems are even smart. If it's above 32, they're using a heat pump because it's more energy efficient. And if it goes below 32, it turns on the boiler because those are more efficient under freezing. So it's a fantastic way to go. The heat pump cycle is can be very complex to folks. Although it shouldn't be, what it basically does is in the wintertime there's still ambient heat outside. It pulls it out and brings it inside, and in the summertime it takes the heat from the inside of your house and transfers it to the outside with the use of cold refrigerant. And so heat pumps are generally referred to as doing a reverse cycle. So it takes the heat from when it's cold outside, and it takes the heat inside, or it takes the cold inside, creates cold inside the opposite way. And the other complaint people have about heat pumps is that they didn't heat adequately, but also that it felt cold. So if it blew on you, you felt like it was cold air because they're punching out air. It's generally about 95 degrees, so it's a little bit below our body temperature, and it feels cold to us. Unico, as standard, because of that thicker coil and the time the air spends across the coil, it's warmer already. And again, you don't have drafts, so it's never an issue. But the air temperature, by and large, is going to be at about 120, 125 degrees. So it really is a beautiful, wholesome airflow, very warm and warming. And then the real big benefit of the heat pump, and this is what we talk about when we talk about efficiency, this term COP that you hear bandied about, and that's just an abbreviation for coefficient of performance, and it's a ratio between energy paid for and energy created. And so the heat pump takes 1 kilowatt of electrical power that you buy, brings it to the heat pump. Now that heat pump has been pulling, with that 1 kilowatt, it pulls 3 kilowatts of heat from the ambient cold environment outside and turns it in to 4 kilowatts of heat in your home. So you will get a coefficient of performance of 4 to 1. So 4 kilowatts of delivered energy for 1 kilowatt of purchased energy. And that's what coefficient of performance means. Anything that is 3 or over is exceptional, and it means for every kilowatt you pay for, you're getting 3 or 4 kilowatts of performance out of it. All right, and then what you'll also perhaps want to do is buy some ancillary products that again, remove cigarette smoke from the air, or kill mites, dust mites, down to zero point 0.3 microns. We've seen all of these things. And there's a range of products. Anymore, we're seeing lots of what are called heat recovery ventilators. And a heat recovery ventilator takes your air from a wet room, okay, in your house somewhere, and it runs it across this diamond here, okay, and it takes it to the outside, all right, and it brings in fresh air. So in the summertime, you've got sort of a cool exchange going here. So this hot air from outside comes in and then goes to the Unico system, right? It's already pre-cooled, and in the wintertime, it's preheated. And we're seeing more and more of those, and more of our product are going in with it. And again, it allows people to have fresh air and be more efficient. So and here it is a bit in a bit more detail. Generally, the air is taken from the kitchen, and it's taken from the wet rooms in the house, the laundry room, bathrooms, and the stale air goes out, crosses through this diamond. Fresh air is coming in. These two streams don't cross, but this outside air is warmed by the exchange that takes part in this diamond, which can be a very, very light metal or a heavy paper. Super efficient. You can have anywhere between 40 and 70% of the exhausted air's cool or heat used in warming or cooling the incoming air. So it's a great way to go. We're seeing more and more folks use it, and it's becoming very standard in cold weather places like Minnesota, Canada, New England, Montana, where you need to bring in fresh air, but you're going to have very, very cold air in the wintertime. So it's a great way to mitigate that. And then, one of the nice things about our product in particular is that it gives you wonderful aesthetics to play with. This is a ballroom in an apartment in New York City, and they were able to actually put our Unico system outlets and incorporate it into this wood ceiling. Obviously, it's cost a fortune, but it was a beautiful and ornate use of our outlets. Now they can be decoratively fit in to existing situations. There's our wood outlet on your right. We have 17 different wood. These are actual wood. You can stain and sand them to match the color of your floor. Everything from pine to oak to sycamore to cherry wood. And then you can stain and sand them to match the color of your floor, and they should blend in very, very well. And there's a screen in there so a kid can't drop a marble or anything like that into it. Lincoln's Cottage, here's outlets in that floor. So you're talking about a 200-year-old floor. They're able to put in wood outlets and exactly match the color of the floor. That's in Washington, D.C. We also have a slotted outlet, and here you see it. This is perfect for a stud wall. So it would have our supply tube hooked to it here, and this gooseneck fits within that joist and within that stud wall and allows you to bring air still very quietly into the room, generally at a high sidewall application. And here you see a contractor, one of our Unico preferred contractors, who did a fairly elaborate wood study, and they were able to put slotted outlets right there and bring it into the millwork. So you see the slot itself. Okay, and that's again an extremely clever use of hiding away the heating and air conditioning system. You don't need to be that elaborate to still have a super attractive product. All right. Here's our range of outlets. We have them metallized in wood, plastic, and then our beautiful white plastic outlet original, which generally you find in the ceiling of a house. These all paint up. The plastic ones paint up great. There's our slotted outlet. It also holds good paint very, very well. We've seen people install them with wallpaper and paint, and again, the idea is you don't notice them. They're unobtrusive. All right? And then you may want a range of, you may want a heat recovery ventilator like we talked about before. You may want enhanced filtration. You can have any more in your home, what are called HEPA filters, like they have in operating rooms. We see that a fair amount, and it literally cleans out almost every impurity in your home. You can have a humidifier or a dehumidifier. We see those added. Humidifiers generally added in like a desert or southwest area. Generally, we don't see a lot of dehumidifiers because our product does it, but we see them from time to time. And it's where they're really trying, because they have maybe expensive artwork or ornate wallpaper, they really need to control the humidity. A lot of times with paintings, people do that. So all of those are matchable. And then our product matches to any kind of building management system, or the Nest thermostat, or any of the new wireless thermostat technology. If you want to control your heating and air conditioning from your phone in your car, you can. People do it all the time. They turn on their lake home from their, in-town home and all that. And we are fully conversion compatible, and our contractors put those in all the time. It just depends, again, on what you want. Getting towards the end here, cost and installation. Here's a house that was recently done with a single Unico system. Here's a second house that was recently done with a single Unico system. So generally, our product is more expensive than conventional. We don't shy away from it. We're 25% or more costly than a conventional system installed. We always are. I don't hide from it. We're proud of it. Our product deserves probably double what a conventional system costs because of the benefit it brings. And the quality of the contractors who put it in. But what you will generally find is that the product, and there's always mitigating circumstances, so please don't tell one of my contractors that I guaranteed these prices, but this is what we found through lots of surveys of our guys, is that if they put in a 3-ton system, it's generally somewhere between $12,000 and $18,000, depending on the add-ons and is it just cooling, or is it a heat pump with hot water, that sort of thing. But that's about what it costs. So this house was a 2.5-ton, and it was installed for, I believe, $14,000. That was a heat pump that provided heating and cooling, but not hot water. And then this was a 3-ton, very well insulated, older home that had been renovated, and it was a Unico heat pump with a hot water coil, and it was installed for $16,800, fully installed and guaranteed. These happened not too long ago, so they would have received a 15-year warranty. So that's generally what it costs. We are seeing more and more. Some of our contractors they all offer financing programs. We have a Unico financing program that many of them are beginning to offer. We had not done it because so many outdoor unit manufacturers that match up with our product have been doing it. But we started one this year. We're finding that some of our contractors, some of the bigger ones, are doing finance with the end users in 80% of the situations. It's very usual to see 60% of end users finance their heating and cooling. And there's a range of choices. The most popular one we understand is the 18 months, zero interest with no monthly payment. A lot of times, homeowners, particularly well-heeled ones, will be able to pay cash for it, but choose to let the money work for them over a year and a half, and then pay cash as the end of that finance program comes due. Great way to go. Plenty of options, and there's plenty that we don't have listed here. So and contractors will certainly let you know it's a painless process, generally a 5-minute approval process that you make on your own through a call with a contractor ID number. And strongly recommended. It allows you for a couple $100 a month to have full heating and cooling in your property, and that's why people do it. All right, and then finally, warranties and maintenance. All heating and cooling product in the United States has to have a 1-year warranty. We, of course, do. Any contractor, even if he can go and buy it from any distributor in any of the 50 states or Canada, and that product is completely guaranteed for a year. Contractors who register the installation on our website and who have been to either a field or factory training or taken one of our extended online courses, either a half-day or full-day course online through what's called Unico University, get a 5-year warranty. And then if you're one of the 500 or 600 Unico preferred contractors across the country, you get a 15-year warranty. So and you deserve it. You're a top-notch contractor, and you'll put the product in right. It's going to work great forever. And again, the product is independently rated at a 26-year life cycle. We bought the company 20 years ago, but over the last few years, we're seeing people who had the system installed 30 years ago begin to change out the blower for the new high performance, high efficiency blowers or a new coil. So it has a good long life, and if it's installed correctly and sized correctly from the beginning by a good contractor, it should last. The most important thing you can do is to make sure you vacuum the return air filters, whether you have one or multiple. Change them twice a year. We have a national trainer who says if you have more than 4 animals in your house, you should change them quarterly. I haven't tested that in person, but I'll take his word for it. But most people change out the filters twice a year. They cost generally about 10 or 20 bucks. The contractor who installed it will want to have some sort of service contract or maintenance agreement with you. Generally, as part of that, they change your filters once or twice a year when they come to do your annual checkup. I strongly always recommend that people take a service contract. We see them anywhere per system, $200 to $500 a year on average. It's for emergency call-outs. Generally they do a clean and check of all the equipment in the spring and the fall, change the filters, make sure there's no clogs, that sort of thing. It's well worth doing. It's an inexpensive investment to make sure that your system continues to run exactly as it did on the day it was installed and signed off to you. All right. So finally, thank you, and we'll open it up for some questions, and I'll read the questions here. in a moment. Amanda may want to jump back on with us. That is our website. Strongly recommend you go take a look at it, but it looks like there's a bunch of them. So,
Hi, Scott. I am going to jump in real quick. Well, you take a look at the questions and let me know what you want to answer. We are at the top of the hour, so we'll probably just keep it to a few of the questions you feel like are most important. And then I'm going to let everyone know that we will be able to follow up with them after the event if their questions did not get answered. So real quick, thank you, Scott. It was a great presentation. And as a reminder, if you do have questions at this time, you will see a questions tab in your control panel to the right of your screen. Please go ahead and enter them in there. As I mentioned, we don't have a lot of time right now. I am going to let Scott pick a few questions he wants to answer, but we will be getting back to everyone who does have questions. Scott, why don't you go ahead and go through a couple questions and then turn it back over to me when you're done, and I'll wrap it up.
well, I've got three. I'll go through two of them. One was on warranty, which I just covered, 5 or 15 years. The question is, we're planning to close in our screen porch to convert it to a family room. Can we add on the Unico system just for that room? Absolutely, we see it all the time. It can be done two different ways. A couple of years ago, we entered into an engineering and manufacturing partnership with an Italian firm called Argo Clima, who makes one of the most robust and energy efficient outdoor heat pumps in Europe, and then they manufacture for Panasonic, all Panasonic equipment for Europe. But their own product, the I-Series, is a great match to Unico. So we've been importing that and hooking it to Unico systems. And what's great about it is that outdoor unit works down to even a colder temperature than standard heat pumps do. So at -10 degrees, you're getting 65% of the original capacity of the unit. You're still getting nice warm air. At 5 degrees, you're getting 90% of the capacity of the unit. You don't get that with any other product. It's great. You can also have multiple Unico systems running from one outdoor unit, so it's called a multi-split. And because they sell the product in Europe where high wall splits are very, very normal, you're also able to have that outdoor unit hooked to a Unico system, generally in the basement or the attic, but you can also have a high wall split. So if that add-on porch were built after the house was constructed, you may not have a path to get your tubing. You can put the high wall split and have the same outdoor unit controlling both the air handler in the attic and the high wall split in the porch. It's a great way to go, super efficient, and you can accommodate heating and cooling everywhere. And then the other question is, high velocity air seems like it would blast into a room. How hard is the air blowing? Do you have to place the vents of air so it doesn't directly blow on people? I'll answer the last one first. Yes, you place them in the corner of the room or anywhere someone's not going to sit, stand, or lay. You generally don't want to put it over furniture, just because you want the air to be able to come into the room and mix freely with air in the room. So people put them in the corners of the room, or they'll put them generally maybe where a light switch is right above that, because the only time you're there is when you're turning the light on and off. The flow of air is very compact, and if you were to stand directly below it, and you had generally a standard 9-foot ceiling, you would feel the air begin to mush with your hair a little bit, although maybe not. You could, but if you stood just outside of it, a foot away, you wouldn't feel it at all. So right below the opening, you'll feel the air, and generally after 3.5 feet, it's begun to mix with all the air in the room. So, and that's why you get those even room temperatures. So that's great. I'll turn this back over to Amanda here.
Awesome, great. Thank you, Scott. That is all the time we have for this evening. We hope you enjoyed the presentation. We will be sending an email out with a link to the recording of this event, and you will see that inside of the next 24 hours, so be watching your inboxes. Once again, thank you for joining us, and have a great night, everyone.